Okay, let's get into the curriculum designing system. Right? Again, these have basics in the design thinking elements of things, and you might relate to it. I'm not bringing it up again because we've brought it so many times that you now are completely, I think, comfortable with understanding what goes into it. Okay, but start relating to it because this is what you will be putting into your courses as well. And this is getting now practically to the smallest most level of activity which you will start now putting into place at your end from a digital asset perspective, but putting an online course from that point of view. Okay. uh, okay, so let's start. What will the curriculum consist of? So if you derive your course, okay, now suppose you know the niche, you know the micro niche, you know the subject very well, you know what is the problem, you know what is the solution you're offering them and what you have gone through. Okay, so these are the basics. Now you're putting you're designing a course. Now a course will typically consist of a curriculum. Okay, it will be, you might want to bring a course into the level of putting a course one with a section, and the section would consist of various lectures. Okay, I repeat, there would be a curriculum which will consist of a course will consist of a section, and section would consist of lectures, various lectures under that heading. Okay, with that said, what should the curriculum consist of largely? A curriculum will consist of something called a tripwire. We discussed this earlier, and the co-product. All right. What is a tripwire? Tripwire, we discussed, is more of a conceptual course that will help people understand the basics and will help them convert to the larger main course that you're trying to kind of provide as a service to people. Okay, so for in our case, right, the conceptual course, when you break it down further, it will consist of a section, which in this case called the conceptual course. You might want to call it the principle. So suppose for your, okay, let's take an example and run it through so you understand and relate to it better. So let's understand, suppose somebody is teaching people to do stock trading. Okay, different topic again from the conventional ones that we've been taking. So from a conceptual course perspective, somebody might want to put as a name saying that mindset of a stock trader. All right. So maybe now live with it for a moment. So mindset of a stock trader would require principles and strategies to be put in place. So what are the principles? Okay, for people who understand stock trading a little bit, principles would imbibe patience, perseverance, risk-taking capability, right, and discipline, right? Maybe these four could become principles. Then it would consist of strategies. How does one build it, right? So for building those four principles, somebody would write strategies. If you are at point A, how you get point B, you will try to put certain fundamental steps. For example, let's put, say, the discipline, right? Now, you might put, there are 5 principles of discipline which talk about that you have to be the habit of being able to, start in the morning at such a time, because that's when the stock trading starts. Number 2, if you lose for the day, it's best to fast get out of the system. Number 3, if you are supposed to enter a system, enter exactly when you get the indications right. Number 4, you have to make your small wins earlier so that you can get the bigger wins over a period of time. So maybe those becomes 5, so to speak, strategies for building your principles, the 4 principles that we talked about. Okay, now you relate it to your niche and how this can work through. Now, once you get deeper with such topics, right, and let people know how deep you can go with this, so that you will think in a day of the mind of a stock trader and how he perceives the market and how it works out. And similarly, how the principles for risk work, how principles of perseverance work, and so on and so forth. So you have a full course, right? Now, and in that course, you might also want to show them how one trade is taken with these principles, right? So that principles and the strategy for making that principle happen gives the the proof to the pudding. Then you will add a couple of bonuses to this, right? For example, we put 4 things there: an evaluation, a technique, practical, and one-to-one session. Okay, what does that mean? An evaluation would mean that you might want to let them know that an entry and exit strategy of a trade works in a particular fashion, right? Now you can ask them to evaluate themselves, have their entry and exit for that specific trade that they would have taken earlier or later on meets these specific steps, right? For those who know again this, uh, for an entry exit in a stock, typically how you evaluate it, you screen a stock, you position size it. Based on the position size, you put the kind of risk to it, and then you put a stop loss. And if you put a stop loss, then there is a reward that you need to get against the stop loss. So you put maybe typically a 2:1 ratio. And if you do that, you get an entry signal through the indicators or through your price action activities. You enter, and once your either stop loss is hit or your target is hit, you exit. Now that completes one whole cycle of evaluation. Now you can ask them whether they are taking these steps, right? If not, then they have to take these steps and then evaluate themselves that they're doing this on a continuous basis. That's number one. The technique, the 5-step technique is the technique that was used to evaluate yourself. So that is the second part of the activity. Practically, you can show one trade in live audience that how this is done by screening and then by putting the position size and so on. So enter trade and exit trade, whether it takes a stop loss or it goes to meet its target. Simple. So that is done, and we do this in our RISE circles, right? How we do this. So and that will you see the practical outcome of how things are, of various things that we'll be discussing up to now. Then there are one-to-one sessions. These are consultative sessions where you come, then they'll show you a problem, right? That they have problem in discipline, their problem in risk taking, their problem in ABCD. Then after listening to them, you might give them a resolution that you face this problem and this is how you overcome it. So that gives you 2 to 5 bonuses that you can add. And those 5 bonuses collectively would formulate things like, I told you, screener, the entry exit strategy, the position sizing, all right, and then risk taking capabilities. So that formulates your bonuses. So these 5 things, when added to a conceptual course, becomes your tripwire, which you then promulgate to the larger audience in terms of selling it as a service, saying that this is what I overcome, this is what you guys can do and make your trade successful, right? People love it. If you can do this and convince them that how each trade worked out very well because of those 5 steps or the techniques that you use with putting the right principles of mindset and this and the other, right? People will want to know more how to make themselves grow in that stock trading activities if these basic ones work for them. So then you go about implementing your co-product, which would mean then teaching them various, for people again who know stock trading, right? The typical tactics or the strategies to work are so many out there, but you might want to choose them. What is candlestick patterns? What are the various shapes and patterns come about with the formation of these things, right? What does each candle formulate that comes into, and what is it called, and how does it can be seen for taking a decision, right? Similarly, there are harmonics to this, and how does the harmonics work, and how do you take an outcome, and so on and so forth. So those becomes your tactics, and those tactics, when collectively put, can become a strategy. That strategy then put into action then gets you the result that you're looking at. So this formulates your co-product. Then you, along with this, when you help them do a one-to-one or your one-to-many session of coaching, right? You have a winning courseware in place. So this is how you perceive a tripwire and a co-product. Okay. So what I gave you is a collective example how you can make a curriculum out of this. Now let's quickly touch upon again some key steps on conceptual courses, that what you can do specifically, right? Again, relating to the same example. So conceptual course, day one, you'll put context, case study, and the practical. I told you how your conceptual ones of, you're putting the principles of mindset and this and the other. Now put that for different categories of people who might have risk-taking capability but not the discipline. Maybe the discipline but not risk-taking capability. If both there exist, then maybe perseverance is a problem. So that is context setting. You position a person in a particular direction. With that, you give them a case study that you were like this and you happen to be like this. Okay, or you take example of Warren Buffett, who became a good communicator later on and became not a trader but an investor, right? So those kind of case studies can come into existence, and with those case studies you add some goals, which is a practical outcome that apply these 5-step principles that I mentioned to you, and it will help you. So day one could be consisted of that. Day 2 and 3, we discuss the bonuses. They can get added over here. Talk about one strategy that you use, a collection of indicators, and how screening is done. We mentioned screening. We mentioned risk-taking capabilities, entry-exit strategies. Show an action case. An advanced lever could be, I told you, maybe use one harmonics, or maybe what a candlestick pattern could look like, which then helps you and show them some examples how it worked in the previous times. Conceptual course ready, right? Now, with all these things, you typically, when you make a co-product, you have to give challenges, right? I've been giving you challenges throughout. You understand what a challenge is. Challenge is the homework which they can go and put it to practice to come up with an answer, right? So same goes here. So main course, concept, mindset, action. Now this will be throughout all the co-products that come to play. There will be a concept, right? We talked about principles. There'll be a mindset. Mindset, that means out of those, principles that you mentioned, which are where the ones that you perceive yourself in, but what is it that actually should happen for the course that you require them to do? So the mindset building activity. We have the perseverance wheel, we have the core, the whole the kit for your goal kit that comes into existence, for digital goal kit for your activities. So ask them to, you can create that for your specific niche. And then the actions and the practicals. We just discussed the action and practicals. You show them how it works for entry, exit, this strategy, that strategy, and outcome from a stock trading perspective. All right. 5 bonuses we discussed. This bonuses would include, as I told you, right, the extras that you give them, including your coaching one-on-one, your one-to-many, or your live sessions or your live trading sessions that you do, or a live webinar where you want to show them how this works, right? Or within the conceptual course, when you show them that how your trade took and how kind of profits it resulted into, and then show them screenshots of what actually happened. That was the conceptual one. So, and bonuses could be very many, right? Depending on the niche, it could be just going on and on, right? And again, like a stock trading, you can put 10 bonuses if you will, right? Because each of them is a deeper subject. For example, each candlestick is a deeper subject in itself. Each shape, each harmonic is a different subject. Okay, and within stock trading, there is commodity trading, and all those factors that come into play, which can just go on and on. So similarly, think in your niche, in your micro niche, what such elements will come to play, but categorize them as much as possible into concept, a mindset, and a action. Right? When you do a tripwire, put the principles, strategies, and then put for 2 to 5 months, how do you evaluate, how do you put the techniques, how do you put the strategies, and a practical outcome. Okay. So does this give you an overview? I hope this gives you conceptually what needs to go in a course, which will, if you take these specific steps, you will be able to create your course in no time if you know your subject very well. Okay, and subject I mean your niche and your micro niche, right? So this is that example of creating an online course. Okay, now typically, okay, what you see, those blue whatever mindset box, if you will, it's a overview, right? You see a concept, your online course material in form of as 3 categories, as I told you, as a concept, a mindset, and an action. Okay, you put elements into that. The action outcome, right, is again and will come repeatedly from the feedback that you receive, because you'll be tweaking your assets accordingly, because there'll be an expectation, but you get a feedback that it is maybe you can do this more. So you put that is an outcome you will get, and you add it to one of your course elements, which could be either in the action, the mindset, or as a concept. Okay. And then during a one-on-one coaching elements, people will get clarified further for the misconceptions that they have. And during that session also you will read underline, maybe the course is not passing that kind of message that you otherwise would want to, and so the second tweak, right? So this bird's eye view is all about tweaking your courses until it becomes where feedbacks etc becomes absolutely minimal. During a one-to-one coaching, people conceive and perceive it the way they have to, and so the learning becomes easier for them. That is the purpose of the curriculum design systems. So use your online courses accordingly, and if you follow these steps that are mentioned for right from a curriculum to a point where your core product, your core 30-day challenge product is in existence, you won't have a problem creating a course for out of you. Okay, let's go further. So this I will take this to you in the subsequent set, because now you're clear of the right side of the box. The if you see the pro title there, its curriculum will get modified based on your research and analysis of your finding, but conceptual framework remains the same. So what I just mentioned to you earlier, right? Conceptually everything should remain the same. You follow the steps, you put in the details, and you should be able to create your online courses, right? And if you see the left side, the trip 5, okay, typically would consist of a welcome note, a context setting, right, duration of say 10 minutes. We have 3 stories, principle and methods for the niche that you're talking about, 10 minutes. The research work, how do you research in finding these things, right? Even for people who are teaching to get taught in teaching to their further audience. Again, that research methodology is important for them to understand and perceive it. So, and the goal setting exercise. So, how your mindset has to work in our case, in RISE1, it's all about mind setting and how you can collectively come to a point of getting this goal, right? The digital asset key. In your case, in case of what we took as a stock trader, the goal setting should be making 5 or 3 to 5 consecutive positive trades. And for that, what's our mindset to work? And if not, what was missing? That is a 10-minute goal setting program for maybe the first example as a trip from a conceptual perspective. Then day 2 concepts, right? What skills you need to be successful in. So again, put that whole, you understand, that whole factor what we were discussing on concept, mindset and action. Apply it here. Okay? So concept, what skills you need to be successful. That's the concept. Then the mindset, breakthrough concept 1. So give 2 stories. How is the mindset coming about? So awareness, goal setting, and then plan creation, which is your action. That is what comes into play from your second, if you see the golden nugget there. And then practical setup to take before the next day. So then you end up with a summary of saying what you need to do the next day. So this is a challenge, if you remember, right? That do this challenge so that you're ready for the action for the next day. These are all 10-minute kind of courses or below, so that you keep the people engaged, and besides engagement, it is the learning that goes into play for them. Right. Then the day 3. So what we covered now, day 1 concept, then day 2 was again the concept on what skills you need to be successful, and day 3 could be the journey to achieve the desired goal. The details of how you will get there. So the whole elements of accountability, daily action and results tracking again, right? The whole factor of what we did. Again, I'm trying to show you concept, mindset and action. So put accountability is the whole concept element, mindset is the daily action, and then the action, which is your results tracking, right? Journey to achieve the desired goal, give the courseware for that, and then you put your concepts, that is breakthrough concept, 4, 5, 6, 2 stories or a case study, whatever is relevant, and then put a sales pitch. Okay, the sales pitch is because at that point of time, you might want the people who have understood this to the next level of your core courses, right? That's when you let them know what the next course will offer them, and then they jump there. All right? Is that clear? So So from a larger perspective, curriculum designing is the steps that you took. You break down from a tripwire perspective. You go back to your core product, tripwire, the conceptual courses and the 2 to 5 bonuses, your core product, how do you implement that? Keep that in mind, you'll be good. Do one-to-one coaching elements, do one-to-many of those, webinar systems, your single one-on-ones, maybe telephonic or video rounds, whatever, or in person. Nowadays in person is allowed, right? Allowed because the pandemic did not allow us to do that. So with all this said, I think you should be good in making your conceptual design. And again, you have hiccups, etc. We have the RISE cycles. Let's meet up there and do the needful. With that, let's jump to the next one, okay, which is nothing but the funnel methodology. This is after your concept of course concentric systems, okay? I'll see you there.